Hi, my name is Vicki Fairchild. Today I wanted to talk about shame. We've spent a lot of time talking about grief and discussing the emotions that go on with grief. And I remember the first time I started studying grief, I felt like it didn't go far enough. That there was more going on in the IEP meetings and with the parents that was being explained by grief. And then I discovered Brene Brown. And when I first listened to Brene Brown's talk on shame, it hit me. This was the piece that was missing in the grief process. The shame, or how parents of disabled children are sometimes shamed by society, by their friends, and by their families. Brene Brown says that shame is the most powerful master emotion. It's the fear that we're not good enough. How does this play out for families of disabled children? I want to tell you two personal stories. The first one occurred when I was about 14 years old and I was watching my nephew. I had mentioned my nephew had disabilities. He had autism and he was developmentally delayed. And we were at an airport waiting for someone to arrive. I don't know who we were waiting to arrive, but back then, if I'm dating myself, you could wait at the gate, and that's what we were doing. Well, it was a long wait, or I don't know exactly what was going on, but Joshua needed a break. And so I took him for a walk, and I found a gate where no one was at, and I let him play on the vinyl seats. And he was jumping on and off and just having a great time. And we weren't really disturbing anyone, but I was trying to make sure that we could last until the plane arrived. So we're just sitting there minding our own business, and then someone comes to the gate, and it was a lady, and she watches us for a while, and then she walks over to me and she says, "Can't you control him?" Oh man, in that moment I felt so small, and I didn't know what to say. I was trying to keep him happy. I was trying to help him last this time in an airport where there's not a lot to do if you're a disabled child. And this woman in that short a time made me feel small and made me feel like Joshua was small. The second story I would like to tell you is about my own child. I've mentioned on my blog that my daughter has low muscle tone. Not that significant. It was just going to delay her walking. Now she was tall, and she probably when she was a year old looked like she was 2, except for her hair. That was a giveaway. And we would go to the park, and I would be helping her walk. I'd be helping her do a lot of things at the park. I tried to make sure we could do things that were fun to get her muscles stronger. I was working with physical therapists. We were doing baby yoga. We were in classes. We were doing all these things just to help her walk. And the comments that I would get from mothers sometimes just went straight to my heart. She was going to learn to walk, but she wasn't walking. And it seemed like people needed to point that out. And sometimes not in the kindest of ways. Isn't she walking yet? How old is she? And again, like at that airport, those types of statements make the mother or the caregiver or the parent feel so small. And also it kind of implied my child wasn't cutting it. It hurt. It really hurt. And that was over something that wasn't that significant. I knew she was going to learn to walk. I knew this wasn't going to be something that was going to be debilitating for her entire life. I knew she might not be as strong as other kids her age, but I also knew it was going to be okay. Now, with parents of children of significant disabilities, or maybe children of learning disabilities where they don't know what's going on until later, these types of shaming stories are too frequent. and they really go down to the core of who the person is and who the child is. And they send this subtle message too many times that the child isn't enough or the parent isn't enough. We need to listen to those stories. And we need to make sure that what we're doing is letting the parent and the child know that they are enough. They're perfect the way they are. All of us are perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. And every child has things they're good at, and every child has things they're not so good at, and that's okay. But these shaming experiences can cause parents to lose hope, can cause discouragement and pain at a level that those of us with typically developing children don't understand. When we are trusted enough that someone shares one of these stories with us, it's those times where true empathy has to come out. True empathy can make the difference in the relationship. True empathy can lead to healing. True empathy creates safety. When a parent shares with us one of these stories, when we respond in a way that's empathic, it creates trust and confidence. Parents need to know that it's safe with us. And when they're dealing with some of these stories of shame, that's when they need the empathy the most. Now, there are some subtle ways that shame appears in the school system and in the IEP process. Parents want their children to be good enough to participate. They want them to be included. They want them to go to those parties. They want them to be able to do sports, to do activities. And all the subtleties of not participating are shameful. When children aren't allowed to participate, it does send that message that they're not good enough. Some of the most powerful experiences I've had with parents have been times when they have been included, when their child has received that birthday invitation. That says you're good enough. When their daughter's allowed to participate in the high school choir, that says you're good enough. When someone is nominated for a homecoming court, that says you're good enough. When your child can cheer along with the cheerleaders, when your child is allowed to be a manager of a sports team, all those things are the beautiful ways that we can tell parents of disabled children and disabled children that they're good enough, that they matter, and that they're perfect just the way they are.